Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of 10-Minute Theology, 31 Days of the Psalms. We're on day 30. Almost made it through our series. Psalm 146 today. Let's go ahead and jump in and look at what the text has for us today. Psalm 146, starting in verse 1. Praise the Lord, O my soul. I will praise the Lord while I live. I will sing praises to my God while I have my being. Do not trust in princes, in mortal man, in whom there is no salvation. His spirit departs. He returns to the earth. In that very day his thoughts perish. How blessed is he whose help is the God of Jacob, whose hope is in the Lord his God, who made the heaven and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, who keeps faith forever, who executes justice for the oppressed, who gives food to the hungry. The Lord sets the prisoners free. The Lord opens the eyes of the blind. The Lord raises up those who are bowed down. The Lord loves the righteous. The Lord protects the strangers. He supports the fatherless and the widow. He thwarts the way of the wicked. The Lord will reign forever. Your God, O Zion, to all generations. Praise the Lord. Psalm 146, 10 verses. Great content, though. And as you look at it overall, boy, what jumped out at me, this theme in there. Don't put your trust in worldly leaders. Put your trust in God. So an overall theme is trusting God. But notice that the sub-theme in there was do not trust in worldly leaders. Look at verses 3, 4, 5, and 6. Do not trust in princes, in mortal man, in whom there is no salvation. Verse 4, his spirit departs, being the prince. He returns to the earth. In that very day his thoughts perish. No longer do they have any control over anything because that leader is now gone. How blessed is he whose help is the God of Jacob, whose hope is in the Lord his God, who made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them, who keeps faith forever. It's good to remember that, yes, we have worldly leaders, but yet God is the one who is ultimately in control of everything that occurs, and not only being in control of everything that occurs, but also in control of who becomes a leader or not. How about that? And what the leaders do. Check this out. The Bible is actually full of rich parallel verses to this in other places. And let's look at a quick blurb out of Daniel. Daniel 2, 19 through 21. If you remember in Daniel 2, Nebuchadnezzar had the dream and he wanted his soothsayers, his magicians, whatever you want to call them, to interpret the dream for him, but he wasn't going to tell him what the dream was because he didn't want him just to make something up. They could make up whatever they wanted, right? And who's to say whether they were correct or not? So Nebuchadnezzar raised the bar big time and he said, hey, I'm not even going to tell you the dream, but I want you to tell me what the dream is. Of course, they weren't able to do it. One of his advisors, remember Daniel, that there was a guy named Daniel who's carried away from Israel in the Babylon captivity and residing there, and say, hey, he has the ability to do this. Let's go get him. So they go get Daniel, and Daniel's able to not only interpret the dream, but he tells him what the dream was. So that's the context here as we look at Daniel 2, 19 through 21. And look at this, what Daniel said. Let's just look at verse 19 through 21. Then the mystery was revealed to Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel said, let the name of God be blessed forever and ever, for wisdom and power belong to him. It is he who changes the times and the epochs. He removes kings and establishes kings. He keeps wisdom to wise men, gives wisdom to wise men, and knowledge to men of understanding. So here's Daniel acknowledging that, hey, God gave me the solution to this dream. And by the way, don't forget, God is in control. God controls the times and the epochs, if you want to say it that way. He removes kings and establishes kings. He gives wisdom to wise men and knowledge to men of understanding. So nice commentary from Daniel there, but yet there is more. Fast forward to Daniel chapter 4. Here's a fascinating verse, Daniel 4:17. A whole lot of content. We could spend a lot of time on this one, but we're not. Check this out. This sentence is by decree of the angelic watchers. Ooh, who are they? We'll talk about that sometime. And the decision is a command of the holy ones, in order that the living may know that the Most High is ruler over the realm of mankind and bestows it on whom he wishes and sets over it the lowliest of men. Look at that last sentence, or part of the sentence there. And bestows it on who he wishes. The Most High is ruler over the realm of mankind, as you should expect him to be. Bestows it on whom he wishes. In other words, he's bestowing the rule of it on who he wishes. Let's look at some others, because there's a tremendous amount of supporting information to this concept throughout the Old and New Testament. Proverbs 21:1, the king's heart is like channels of water in the hand of the Lord. He turns it wherever he wishes. How about that? The king's heart, his very feelings, like the channels of water, and the Lord can turn them wherever he wishes. Remember in just if we go back and think of the story of Pharaoh, when Pharaoh was finally going to let the Hebrews go, it says that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. Some like to say, oh, well, he just did that because Pharaoh hardened his heart so many times before. No, he was going to let them go, but God hardened Pharaoh's heart so that Pharaoh would not let them go at that time. So more plagues could be shown, and that the judgment, and if you go back and look and study those plagues in detail, they're all against the Egyptian gods, the things that they worshipped. Go back and study that in more detail, and you'll find that. Isn't it interesting that he being God, wanted those to be manifested so that everyone would see that God was in absolute control, and God is the God of the universe over every one of those Egyptian gods that they worshipped. Okay, let's go to the New Testament and look at some there, because hey, it wouldn't be a complete study if we didn't go there as well, and it's rich there also. So Romans 13:1 and 2 is a fascinating set of two verses, and we'll comment on this just a little bit as well, but let's go ahead and read them. Every person is to be in subjection to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those which exist are established by God. Therefore, whoever resists authority has opposed the ordinance of God, and they who have opposed will receive condemnation upon themselves. Now, there's some limitations to this, and some Christians will take this to the nth degree. Some of the Christian sects, if we want to call them that, will take them to the nth degree and say you just have to absolutely submit to your governing authorities no matter what. That's not entirely true. And just a quick comment on this, and we'll probably do an entire study on this because it's a great subject, especially for today. Think about this. What if the governing authority precepts and laws require you to violate God's laws? Daniel himself, go back to think about Daniel, himself opposed the governing authority and what they were telling him to do because he refused to worship their gods. And by the way, he wasn't supposed to pray, and he prayed anyway. Why? Because his responsibility is to the God of the universe, not to the governing authority. So keep that in mind in context. And just something for our 21st century, and go back to the 20th century as well. When you think back into the late 1900s, when China invoked a limitation on the number of children you were allowed to have. They had a one-child policy for a while, and if you had more than one, sometimes, depending on the precept that you weren't in and how they decided to deal with it, you could be fined, or they could actually force an abortion on the woman. So does not God speak highly against the concept of abortion and protects the sanctity of life? Absolutely he does. Therefore, to say that you would submit to your governing authority and go kill a child who is unborn because they say you should would be in contradiction to God's overall laws and precepts. So a whole lot on that topic, and we'll come back and visit it at another time in the future because it's a great topic and something that we need to make sure that we're thinking clearly about as we approach it. Okay. One more in Acts 17:26, and check this one out. He made from one man every nation of mankind to live on all the face of the earth, having determined their appointed times in the boundaries of their habitation. How about that? Every nation of mankind to live on all the face of the earth. He made one man, every nation of mankind. From one man, every nation of mankind to live on the face of the earth. Look at the last half of the sentence. Having determined their appointed times and the boundaries of their habitation. Now you may be saying, okay, so great. How do we deal with all that? What if we have, and just think of the U.S., what if we have a president in charge that we like? Okay, we like the president that's in charge. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe you like their policies. Maybe you don't like their ethics. You really have to look at what is it that this person is doing and how are they going to submit and comply with the laws and precepts that God has put in place. Those are the type of things that you need to consider. And like I said, we'll come back and revisit this subject at a future time because it's just a great subject and it will be a great one to help us think more clearly about what's going on in the world. Regardless of that, as we bring this episode to a close, I want to finish with verse 10 here. The Lord will reign forever, your God, O Zion, to all generations. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord indeed. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying warm if you're in an area of the country where it's cold and you're listening to this when it's being published. So God bless you. Take care, and we'll see you again tomorrow for the conclusion of 31 Days of Psalms as we wrap up day 31 in Psalm 146. God bless. Take care.